Penguin Random House Audio presents Over to You, Letters Between a Father and Son by John Berger and Yves Berger. Read for you by Peter Noble and Nicholas Guy Smith. Note to listeners, this audiobook includes a bonus PDF of artworks referenced in the book. Long before my father had a studio built for me in the hayloft of our house, we had a ping-pong table there. We loved playing together. I was a teenager and he was in his 60s. We were pretty closely matched, and some days I won and others he did. But the result, either way, was a superficial consequence of what really made us play. The will to see how far we could challenge luck and make the exchange an act of grace. Of course, that was very rare, but occasionally it happened. And then everything fit together. The rhythm, the movement and gestures, the timing, all converged in the unity of one single act. Both of us made our drawings with the same joy and hope we felt when playing ping-pong. I used to lose my temper when I played badly, and I would hit the table with my paddle. My father would rarely play forehand, but was very fast with his backhand. When changing service and throwing the ball to each other across the table, we would say, "Over to you, Yves Berger."
1. In the Rogier van der Weyde, Mary is reading about her future life in the Bible. Van Gogh paints the Bible as a still life. Goya paints his model posing but still dressed. Both of the last two are an invitation. Both lie open on drapery, and how similar in their spatial perspectives are their open invitations. Love, John.
There is this saying, "I can read them like an open book." Isn't it a very nice way to express this desire we have to access what's inside? Inside what we are facing and its mystery. How we wish to penetrate the outside world surrounding us, not to take control of it, but to feel more completely a part of it. To overcome the isolation we feel in our flesh. The terrible boundaries of the body. See how Shyam Soutine was obsessed with reading the inside. Le Boeuf Écorché offers itself like an open book too. Love, Yves.
To overcome the isolation we feel in our flesh, the terrible boundaries of the body. Your words and the Soutine unexpectedly made me think of Watteau and his players and clowns. All the dressing up and frivolities to hide the terrible border. I was looking for Gilles, and I came across the marmot, one of our alpine marmots that stand on two legs to see across the snow, now a gag in a box to make people in the cities laugh. Then I found Gilles and the donkey below and behind him. Donkey and marmot might have a lot to talk about. Inside his costume, Gilles' body has no border because joke after joke has dissolved the body into a sky. His body is becoming a cloud. He is painted like a landscape. Love, John.
Gilles says, "I'm a stranger in a stranger world. I'm here, but belong nowhere. I drift in this life of exile." The Savoyard, with his marmot from St. Petersburg, replies, "Cheer up, don't fuss. See the sky today? No drama can happen under this blue. Nothing to worry about. The light won't fade, even when we die." Over a century later, in New York, Max Beckmann paints a woman wearing a carnival mask. a cigarette in one hand, a clown hat in the other. She says nothing, but her black mask doesn't hide what her eyes tell. Darling, you are as bad as me. Who do you think we are? Beckmann was a man of faith. The great emptiness and enigma of space, he named God. All his life, he was trying to enlarge and deepen his knowledge of the world we live in. Light, as it were, was the vehicle for his quest. Drawing, the road. Hence his use of black. Colours in his paintings come after form. They bring complexity and unexpectedness. Look at a black and white reproduction. Nothing essential is missing. Probably the same is true of Georges Rouart, who was born 13 years before Beckmann and died 7 years after. He too painted actors, clowns, and mythological scenes. He too had a strong faith, to the point that he could paint a sun circled with black. X. Love, Yves.
A few days before I got your Beckmann, I received a postcard from Arturo. Here it is. I put Durer's screech owl beside Beckmann's Columbine, and together they made me smile. Their two faces and tummies wink at each other. Also, both paintings present a species. He is all screech owls throughout time. She is all women wearing a carnival mask. And of course, this is linked with what you say about outlines, drawing, and the use of black. And this made me think of images that insinuate the opposite. Kokoschka was an exact contemporary of Beckmann's. In Kokoschka, nothing is permanent, and all is transient. Even in his self-portrait with his beloved Olda, which is intended as a testimony to their lasting love, every brushstroke is fugitive, fleeting, momentary, and these qualities are proof that they are alive. Kokoschka is very different from the Impressionists, for whom shifting sunlight was a miracle and a promise. For Kokoschka, light is a parting touch. When he was painting an aerial view of the Thames in London, I accompanied him for a moment to the roof from which he was painting it. This was in 1959, and his gaze was like that of a migrant bird about to leave. Love, John.
The gaze of a migrant bird about to leave. Yes, a gaze that embraces space in such a way that the distant and the near are brought together. And this gaze creates a kind of map on which miles or kilometers pass by like the hours of a day. Facing this, Kokoschka feels how fugitive light and life is. Zhu Da, who belongs to an ancient Chinese tradition, feels the same, but believes that light and life are eternal and that he is the fugitive. It's a question of perception. Remember when, as a kid, I stood with you in a phone booth on a bridge in Geneva? And watching the water flow beneath our feet, I got scared and cried, convinced that we were drifting away. Zhu Da also drew and painted several species of plants, birds, and fishes. Maybe he even drew a mouse, which Durer's owl would surely have gobbled up a century and a half later. But to Zhu Da, unlike Durer, the idea of a self-portrait would never have occurred in the same way, because the self already belonged to the species and the landscape, and could not be separated from the rest of the creation. We couldn't be further away from the mindset of modern and postmodern Western culture. Hence Giacometti's and Chef-Beck's self-portraits. Following Kokoschka, they feel it's departure time.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?